All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. We are going to get started here shortly. We have an awesome panel of amazing founders and CEOs here to talk about health, wellness, and resilience in today's world. Appreciate everyone for being flexible. We had some funky audio issues with the broadcast platform, but we are all here and we are going to get started in just a second. A couple of things to note, we are recording this session, so we will share it out afterwards, so don't worry about scrambling to take notes or anything like that. We are also monitoring the chat, so if you have a moment, drop us a link here in the chat to let us know who you are, that you can hear us okay. And that is also where you are going to be able to ask questions of this incredible panel. So take a look at that. And with that, oh, hello, Bridget. Perfect. Yeah, introduce yourself in the chat. Let people know who you are. Like I said, we have a jam-packed hour here, and I want to kick it over right away to Jen Bonin, who is going to be our moderator. Jen, why don't you kick it off?
Perfect. Thanks, Maria. Thank you to Ministar and giving us this opportunity to have all these folks on. I'm really excited to be here with everyone today. I think it's particularly relevant with the folks with everything going on in the world that we have an opportunity to talk to a team of people that focuses on resilience, wellness, health, how we all stay at our best selves during this time. So I will, as Maria said, I'm the CEO of the AI App Store, and we work on social enterprise as a focus. So one of those areas being working with youth, resiliency, how do we keep people healthy and safe during this time besides just providing technology solutions. But I'd like to offer the opportunity for you guys to meet our panelists so you can ask them questions. I'll start out with some questions for them as well, but we'll get to know them first. So why don't we kick it off with Jesse? Jesse, would you and your co-founder, Louisa, take it away for what you guys do and your backgrounds?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. Jesse Reed, co-founder of Optimal Wellness Collective. We're kind of a new startup and discussing how to live in an urban environment with all the toxicities that are in the urban world. My background is basically kind of a biohacker for the last 8 to 10 years, and just learning more about who I am and what works for me, and just all the different things in my environment. I also had a very interesting medical experience while having a epidermoid cyst pop up about the size of a mandarin orange one day. And so that kind of enhanced my understanding of the medical system these days and how recovery works and that sort of thing. So that's me.
Thanks, Jesse. Louisa, do you want to share with us as the co-founder?
Yes. Hi, my name is Louisa. I am the co-founder of Optimal Wellness Collective alongside with Jesse. And a little bit about my background and myself. I've been working in the mental health and social services field apart from that for a while. So my background really extends just this wide area of looking at the individual like from a holistic perspective. So I've had the opportunity to really dive in and see the different factors that really affect somebody's life, and being able to provide those services and that affect someone and impact people in a positive manner. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Louisa, it's so great to have you here. Now we'll move down to Dr. Jacqueline. So Dr. Jack is here with us.
I love
it. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background and tell us what you focus on?
Yeah, so hi you guys, I'm Dr. Jacqueline. I'm a chiropractor that, with a little inspiration from Jen, started an online fitness, nutrition, and mindfulness platform. It's called Stoke Wellness currently, but I have paired up with another doctor, a urogynecologist, Dr. Ashford from Minnesota Women's Care. He has 4 locations. 3 in the state of Minnesota, 1 in Wisconsin, and we are actually currently going through a rebrand right now. So it will be going from currently Stoke Wellness to Woman Works with an RX at the end. And again, like taking a holistic approach, like Jesse and Louisa said, to all things women's health. So not just the fitness component, but nutrition, mindfulness, what's the self-talk, and stuff like that. So I'm super excited to bring, my chiropractic background and also a very well-rounded holistic urogynecologist's standpoint to an online platform. So it's still, Stoke Wellness is currently operating and Woman Works will be soon to come. But yeah, so that's my story.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And these are all such exciting endeavors. So I think it's good to provide these types of solutions and offerings out to the group. And last but not least, we have Krista with us. And Krista has a long background as well, CEO. So give us a little bit on your organization, your journey. Similar to Jesse, I know there's a story around how you transferred from one area in your career to this and where you landed today. So maybe if you're okay sharing that, that would be great.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Jen. And thank you for having me as part of the panel. So I am CEO, founder, and co-owner of The Point Retreats. My fellow partner is Chuck Runyon, who is the CEO of Self-Esteem Brands, probably better known as the founder of Anytime Fitness. And about 4 years ago, I started the company, and we focus on hosting health and wellness retreats for kind of a number of different health enthusiasts. So I just had a couple of MDs here last night, and we are hosting some retreats really focused on the clinician's health. So looking at MDs, nurses, PAs, NPs, chiropractors, those that care for others, and really trying to heal the healers. And then we also have more adventurous retreats, which Jesse and Louisa have been at, where it's looking at, where you can incorporate some kind of outside of the box thinking around health and doing some more non-traditional things to stay healthy. And we really have looked at what we can do in the year ahead. And obviously this has been kind of a challenging time when we're centered on gathering people together in person, but we do have a really robust 2021 year planned with a lot of different safety measures in place to get people back together as a community and, have that human connection again, which is so critical. And my background is I am a registered nurse. I did bedside nursing for the first segment of my career for about 10 years in a number of different specialties from ICU to primary care. And then I went back and got my master's in healthcare leadership and took on about a decade of healthcare administration roles and left traditional medicine, which I thought was going to be a temporary leave, to take care of my dad who became terminally ill. And during that time, kind of my eyes were opened from the family member and patient perspective. And I thought, there's so much room for improvement in health. And oftentimes people pay attention to health when it's kind of that point of no return. And so my mission is really to help people not just think about their quantity of life, but their quality of life. And we want to be a place that can enhance that.
Amazing. I'm so excited, you guys, to get to the questions. And I know the folks watching will have a ton of them for you as well. But I'll start with just a few questions to you guys as panelists. Obviously, 2020 has been quite the year for all of us. And the gifts just keep coming with last night and what we'll all face as a world now post yesterday and how we deal with that. So these types of things, being isolated, Krista, you mentioned it, not having that face-to-face connection. Some of us are more isolated than others where we're quarantining alone. We don't have the advantage of friends or family members we're with. Lots of different things that we're dealing with, right? Just stress of job loss, potentially stress of health, family members, lots of things around impacting our health. So can you guys maybe give us some things you're seeing just in terms of, how do we right now promote physical and mental health and well-being, and what are some tangible things you guys have seen, helping people through what can be an incredibly stressful and challenging time for everyone? Feel free to weigh in, anyone who wants to kick us off.
I'll start.
Okay.
So my husband works for Securian Financial, and he was prior to COVID traveling 60% of the time, and also he referees Division I college hockey. And so he was gone on the weekends as well. So travel was a very big thing for him. And what I've been witnessing, just, being his partner in this household, it's been really tough for him to not go out. Like you said, it was that human interaction. Travel was such a big part of his day to day, and it just all of a sudden got halted. What I've been seeing through his experience is he still finds a routine. So I think what's been extremely helpful for him is, just like any other day, the alarm clock hits, you get up, you take your shower, you get ready, and even if, your work, your office is downstairs, still making it this routine. And I think that's been, so healthy for him to wake up, go about his day. He still takes his lunch break, whether that's going out to grab something or just closing his laptop, going into the kitchen, taking his hour, and then coming back. So I think that still maintaining a routine would be a big thing that I've seen. That helps.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's really important, right? So stick to some of those consistent routine things. Any other thoughts from the panelists, other things these folks can do? A lot of our folks listening in are technologists. They're stressed. They've got lots going on. They're sitting in front of screens 8 hours plus a day, not maybe getting up and moving. Any other ideas or suggestions on things they could do that would help?
I'll go. So one thing that I would suggest that's very, very important, and very safely social physical distancing, but also being able to interact with people, is getting out in nature, doing maybe some of the things that you used to do. I know in Minnesota, here we're nearing our fall, winter, little transition here, but even hiking, just immersing yourself in nature, that is an activity, or canoeing, or anything of the sort that you can be outdoors. And you can either go with a group, but canoeing or kayaking or doing things like that provide that interaction, but that distance as well. And just for your mental health, nature is absolutely amazing to just have that break where you find that, okay, I'm getting away, I'm having a mini vacation, and it's relaxing, but you really don't have to travel as far. So that's something that I've really enjoyed. That's really helped me. And yeah, it's a really good way to go about something relaxing. So
Yeah.
I love it. Get outside. So for all of you listening, get outside, get a routine. Anything else? Krista, did you have some tips for us?
Yeah, I can definitely go to some tips. I'll give a little bit of background on why I kind of think all the things are probably all going to suggest are so important. But, prior to the world today and the pandemic that we're all facing today, 6 out of 10 US adults has a chronic disease. So the health of our nation was already really compromised prior to this pandemic. So that tells us a couple of things. One, that leaves 60% of people more vulnerable when we have new events in health, like the COVID virus. Everyone can kind of look at those statistics, what's happening there, but kind of second to that, as someone who's talked a lot about chronic disease throughout my career and how to focus on that, if you look at most of our chronic diseases, which 60% of people have one, roughly 45% people in the US have two. That's, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, those kind of things encompass chronic disease. But when you work with people with chronic disease, if you kind of go back and look at their timeline of health, most people will have an event that precipitates their chronic disease. When I say event, I mean a stressful event. So maybe it was a loss of a job, maybe it was loss of a loved one, maybe it was in a situation they felt really unsafe, maybe it was change in family dynamics. And as you look at the year 2020, I guess I'd ask even our panelists, because I can see you or anybody in the chat, how many of you would say 2020 has been a traumatic year? I know I would raise my hand. So I think about it from where we are in the acute phase of this, but I also look at it at a chronic place too, of how susceptible are we to different things as we keep moving forward? Our stress hormone called cortisol is really high. So everything that I've heard suggested so far is how do you decrease your cortisol, your stress hormone, to try and mitigate your body's stress response. Going outside, keeping a routine. I see Jesse's wearing blue blocker eyeglasses. If this is a digital audience, and I have mine here, I just wasn't sure if you could see me as well through them, but protect yourself, mitigate your risks with things that can protect your body's response to stress. I know people are like, how in the world do these affect your response to stress? But our families' lives have been changed. This is how we're doing things. And there is a direct correlation with these reducing the body's stress response when you're in front of a computer or a screen for a prolonged time. It decreases your cortisol response, it protects your melatonin, and those things have a direct response and link to your immune system, which all of us should also be thinking about a little bit right now. So I just want to give a little background on kind of all the reasons I think we're going to suggest really important things, but all of them link back to decreasing our stress, which decreases our risk for chronic disease, which also then boosts our immune system. So sorry, long-winded.
That was awesome though.
Love
So
it.
you mentioned the blue blocker glasses that Jesse's wearing. I have those as well that I wear for anyone that sits in front of a screen. Now, any recommendations for folks on looking at those? Because some people may be going, what is that and where do I get those?
Yeah.
How do I get these things that I don't know I need maybe?
You know, it's a great question. And I will say as a nurse and in traditional healthcare, there's so few things that we do intervention wise or that we recommend or prescribe that don't have side effects. And that's one of the things I love about these. They're inexpensive. There's no negative side effects. Most of the time they will help. So where can you get them? I'm assuming Jesse and I might have the same brand. I'll put out a disclaimer. I represent and I affiliate with no products. As a nurse, I keep a very neutral platform. If I recommend something, it's because I've tried it. I know the people that own it and I want to support them. And so I have Primal Hacker blue blocker glasses on. These are my daytime ones because you actually need a different filter for daytime use because you still want your eyes to be able to absorb some light during the day to help set your circadian rhythm. And then once the sun sets, I do flip over to my nighttime blue blockers, which really block the artificial light in front of your screen so that your melatonin can kick in and you can fall asleep. So I recommend Primal Hacker glasses. You can go on their website and find them, but you know, you can go on Amazon and they're like, you can find ones for $10. And I would encourage you to think about them for your sleep health, reducing stress, reducing fatigue, and also think about your kiddos with them too, because our kids are now in front of screens a lot more too. And, you know, if we can make these a really cool fashion trend, I suppose maybe they won't be if the parents are wearing them, but if we think of our kiddos with them too right now, it's protecting their health too.
And those come, just so people know, if you drop it in the chat for us, Krista, just the link or the name again, so everyone can get it in the chat, that'd be great. And then just so everyone knows, they come with either no prescription, like for people that don't need any correction. And I've seen them where they come with correction. So say you're someone who needs cheaters or other things as well, you can get your blue blocker glasses with that in it so that it's all in one. So you just need one thing, but a great, and they do make them for youth and children. That's a great tip too, for anyone with what I call tiny humans who are now spending their days in front of screens all day long, which is stressful on them as well. So great tips. I love it. Now you've mentioned biohacking. Jesse, you mentioned biohacking. For those folks out there that doesn't know what that even means, they're like, well, we do other kinds of hacking in this world, not the IT kind, not the biohacking. What does that mean? And could you maybe describe that a little bit for folks that aren't familiar with that term or maybe haven't been exposed to it?
Sure. So some of the biohacking can be determined and described in many different ways, but what it truly means to me is really truly understanding how my body physiology and everything works so I can optimize my life, whether it be environment, the food I eat, the supplements I take, how the movements that I have. Each of us is very different in how we work. So really truly getting to the understanding of what I am and really just putting in implementations to make sure that I'm taking care of it. As our lives have changed over the centuries, we still have a very similar physiology, but we're now sitting at a desk more frequently. We're exposed to foreign blue lights that we really don't see. We never saw back in our ancestry. And so how do we mitigate those? And then also, how do we go from a sedentary lifestyle to having functional fitness or being able to move appropriately so we're not stuck in poor positions? And I think that flies into chiropractic and making sure our body's aligned and our spine's working appropriately so all of our nerves can talk to each other. And that's just one of many different things that you can dive into to really enhance who you are and then just really optimize your brain in the physical aspect of things.
Perfect. Just in case, because I thought some of you may be going, what does that mean? What is biohacking and how does this work? So we touched on it a little bit, but what can happen now with all the access to screens, the stress, all of the things. Any suggestions from you guys around fatigue and burnout, right? So understanding when your body is just completely not from the virus fatigue, but it could be, but just fatigued in general from now sitting in front of a screen more often, being more sedentary. It could be whatever we're dealing with, but we're experiencing fatigue or getting to the point of possibly burnout, right? Where we're working our system so hard that if we don't stop or we continue pushing, we risk more permanent damage, I guess, to the system. Any feedback from you guys on strategies around that?
I would say, there's a lot of different things that you can do. But I think as we in the Midwest are heading into winter, Louisa made a really good point that, you can get caught in this routine of like going from one room and now we go to our computer and then we go back and we check on our kids who might be downstairs in the basement. Then we go back to our workplace. And before we know it, the sun has risen and the sun has set and we haven't seen a second of daylight. And there is without a doubt that will impact your mood and it will impact your energy levels. And so it's not just kind of a fluffy recommendation to say get outside. It's really critical to your health to be able to see the sun for so many reasons. You will sleep better, have more energy. It's kind of a holistic recommendation. Secondary to that, I guess I would also say kind of in that same line is moving. It's really easy to be more sedentary when you're more isolated and you're more stuck to the screen. But when you're outside, or at least at some point in the day, move, get those endorphins released, boost your serotonin, like that will help your energy level. And then two other pieces that you can do as supplements, either naturally through food or through a supplementation, would be vitamin D and vitamin B. Those are both really important for immune health. Those help prevent chronic disease, and they also help with that fatigue and energy depletion that all of us are kind of battling right now.
Perfect. So some supplements if you need them to help with some of that stuff, obviously getting outside. Anything we didn't touch on from the rest of you that you have as recommendations on the fatigue side or the burnout?
I think I second what Krista said, just about, making sure to go outside and Louisa, making sure to go outside, get the vitamin D, because like she had mentioned prior, having that exposure to sunlight actually helps set your circadian rhythm. And that kind of snowballs into what I want to talk about too with sleep. Like, sleep is so important. I know I'm guilty. We live in a world now where you can work anywhere, anytime, any moment, whether it's, attached to your phone or, how often do we take our laptops everywhere now, right? So just having that, exposure to the sun will help set that circadian rhythm, get, at least 8 hours of sleep, right? That's what we want. 8, sometimes with females, even a little bit longer. And just, have that to help essentially prevent adrenal fatigue, which it's unbelievable that, we're sitting here like, we're sitting, our adrenals are pumping out cortisol, even with us right here, right now, right? Our stress response is still firing. you know, even in being now with a sedentary lifestyle. So yeah, I second a lot of what Krista said with that.
Yeah.
Moment.
Yep. I agree with getting outside. I also think that finding a place to ground or getting your bare feet on the ground and being able to either hug a tree or something like that, but being able to, because we're exposed to so many electrons and we're getting all this electricity in our system, and you need somewhere to dispel that because we're not naturally supposed to be able to handle that sort of thing. So being outside, like, yeah, exposing skin, actually one of the things that we've been, like, I'm really excited about, and is like the water is cold, and being able to get into the water and expose yourself to the elements and being able to push your body into the ability to adapt to cold adaptation and allow your system to be exposed to different environments rather than sitting into our 65 to 70 degrees all the time. Our body and our physiology wasn't meant to be able to do that. So being able to get outside even just 5-10 minutes during the day, getting cold, taking a cold shower, those type of things will help your immune system, will help you get into more of a parasympathetic state, so your body can recover itself. It's super huge. One thing I've also done, and along the lines with just setting up a pattern, is like immediately in the morning, taking either some kind of spiritual practice. So meditation, prayer, yoga, something along those lines, just to get your mindset straight for the rest of the day, with some kind of breathing practice to allow your body to expel the cortisols that we're inevitably going to run into during the day, and being able to do that. But those are some very critical things that I found. And then also just planning. I have a 15-minute schedule 4 times a day to get up and move and either do push-ups or sit-ups or some kind of activity to ensure that it's a reminder. Because if I don't, I'll get caught in meetings from meeting to meeting to meeting, and I'll have pressing issues and deadlines and all those types of things. And without that reminder that's on my calendar, I get lost in it.
That's a great tip. Block the time, like just block it out on your calendar so you remember and you take it. So I love that, so that it gets prioritized. Now, thoughts from you guys on sleep. I know we have a lot of folks that they're kind of addicted to those devices. It's a real thing now. They even have centers now to deal with device addiction, if you can believe it or not, right? We're constantly connected. We need to be on all these social media platforms. We have to see how many likes and shares and all the things, and it just perpetuates that. And I know a lot of people have the habit of looking at those devices or screens all the way up to when they try and lay their head on the pillow, and then they say, I can't fall asleep, my brain won't shut off. Advice or support on helping people through the idea of, you guys know the best. I mean, giving them advice on how long before you try and sleep you should be looking at these types of devices or screens, strategies if you can't fall asleep, things that can help with that to get you into that ability you guys all talked about, but circadian rhythms, things like that help you as an individual rest your body.
Yeah, of course there's the ideal way of doing things, and there's a realistic way of doing things. And, of course we could try and give all these recommendations of don't use your phone after sunset, only have red lights on after sunset. But, that's probably not reality for a lot of people. So, do the best you can to limit the time. I think we all, kind of recognize that's important right now. And then certainly the blue blockers. But then there is also a setting that you can put on your phone that decreases the light that's emitted from your phone. So it has it's not as bright of a screen, and the brighter the screen, the bigger the stress response, and the greater it suppresses your melatonin and impacts your circadian rhythm if you're looking at a really bright screen at night. So even things like setting your computer screen or your phone screen to be on as low light as possible, or possibly even like a pink background that doesn't mess with all the hormones that you need to regulate to sleep well, are really important. So I mean, sure, if you can shut off all the screens at 6 o'clock as the sun sets, great. But if you can't, then try and mitigate and, kind of control the environment as best as you can. And that even makes a big difference. And I wish I could tell you I was smart enough to tell you how to do all that stuff with your phone, but I usually hand it over to someone like Jesse, who's smarter than me. So maybe he can do it on your phone and make it happen.
The dark mode. So that's good to know,
Yes.
though. So that dark mode that we have, like I know a lot of developers on their computers, even during the day, set their screen to the dark mode so it's not as reflective. So that does help. So that's a good thing to do, right? For all of us, it sounds like, from you professionals who can tell me that's good. And then minimally, like if we can't shut it off at sunset, what do you recommend? Is it like 10 minutes before you try and fall asleep, 30? I mean, obviously as long as you can, but minimally if you cannot have those screens around or turned on. Like some people, I think, sleep with their phone next to their bed. If the light pings on, they don't even realize it, but they're being impacted by it as text messages are popping up, things are coming through their phones, all of that stuff as well. So all good not to do that, it sounds like. So.
Yeah, and try to turn off your alerts too. Those, every time an alert goes off, there's a neurotransmitter in your brain called dopamine that's released. So it literally is like the same kind of pleasure high that you get from doing a lot of other behaviors that kind of lead to addiction, right? So that's why this is becoming a problem, because you see something go off, a dopamine releases, and then it's this constant like loop that we can't turn off. So trying to just even turn off all the constant alerts, like you said. So if it's in your bedroom at night, which isn't ideal, but if it is, trying to at least not have those lights and alarms going off at night is helpful.
Perfect. Now, I want to touch on something else. So obviously, as part of the current situation we're in, there's a need to take certain precautions. There's a need to sanitize a lot of things. We're using sanitizers on a lot of our products we're bringing into our homes. We're putting a lot more of that on our skins and on different things. Is there some impact, or do we know the impact of all of these chemicals? Because sanitizers, a lot of the sanitizers people are using have chemicals in them. What is the impact, or do we even know the impact long-term of some of this process of sanitizers? And is there any, I guess, is my question.
Yeah, so some of the things that I've been thinking about, and we have had this previous culture of sanitizing everything with Clorox and, keeping our kids safe and stuff. And one of the things that we aren't really talking about right now with that sterilization, I want to say, is the impact of our gut microbiome. Mm-hmm. So we have recently found that there is a very strong connection between our gut flora and our moods, our behaviors, our immunity even. So taking away all of it, sterilizing, also takes away a lot of the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Of course, right now it's very much important to be able to protect ourselves, but what are some of the things that we can do to counteract that sterilization? Well, there are these things called probiotics. Not sure if anybody's really heard of them, but the probiotics and prebiotics, which help support the gut bacteria, are different strains that you can take as a supplement. So just a couple of the strains that are very beneficial, for example, Bifidobacterium infantis. That one in particular is one that lives in your gut to metabolize tryptophan, mm-hmm. which tryptophan is a precursor to vitamin D. So when the sun hits your skin and metabolizes vitamin D, that little bacteria is the one that helps convert that precursor to vitamin D into something that your body can use. So about 90% of the serotonin in your body is made in your gut. So if we're sterilizing everything and we don't have those very helpful bacteria that just help regulate hormones and all these enzymes in our body, we're not going to be able to function, think, behave. Even our moods are really drastically going to change. So that is something to really keep in mind when we're just using the hand sanitizer and we're not really doing anything else to counteract that. So
That's a great point. And so for folks that say, okay, that sounded really complex and I don't know where to go find that. How do you know, right? Like, I know there's a lot of work being done right now on the science, as you mentioned, the biohacking, but individual bodies, what do we need? All of us are different. Some of us are missing certain vitamins, certain things more than others. Is there some place where people could say, gosh, I am removing all of the good stuff too by sanitizing, sterilizing? How do I know what good prebiotics or probiotics are that I could take, or where do I get started to know, what is, and I think for a lot of folks in technology, they're very detail oriented individuals who go, how do I know if it's really good for me, or if someone's just trying to sell me something that it doesn't actually help me, it's just to get me to spend money. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Because I know a lot of our friends out there in technology are like, but how do I know that it's a good product and not just one I'm spending money on? Any thoughts from any of you on how to get started on what is my body missing, how to add these things in safely, and get started with that process? No, that's a big question.
No, that's fine. My recommendation to patients is always, if the probiotic is refrigerated, that's usually a good sign, versus, non-refrigerated. Like if you think about bacteria, it's a living organism, and it is temperature, regulated. And so I always say, hey, if it's refrigerated, it's more than likely a pretty good probiotic. So that's just
one way to know, kind of, right? And if you go to your doctors or your physicians, stuff like that, will they be able to like recommend? I always say, Dr. Jack, can I take this? Is there anything horrible in this thing that I'm taking? And I have her read the bottles, or I'll send it over to her, just to say, is it good or not? But where can people go to get some advice on that? Because it can be overwhelming if you don't know to like where to go and who to ask. Will physicians usually help with that, or what do you guys recommend? No? Will some of them just be like, no?
No, I would say, coming from the traditional healthcare world, I think physicians are probably, generally speaking, probiotic. They're not going to say they're bad. Quality matters, certainly. Physicians are probably more accustomed to recommending probiotics and heavier doses, say if they're treating a patient who's suffering from something called C. diff. So they're kind of used to using probiotics to treat like the big issues that are happening. But I think on the preventative side, at least from my handful of really close colleagues who we talk about all this stuff with, the physicians don't have any issues with probiotics and would recommend them. From a quality standpoint, quality matters. Something's better than nothing. But I would say if you're in the Minnesota area, one place that I can kind of generally just say I trust their supplements, and I use a lot from them, and I use a lot from a lot of other places, but it's kind of a one-stop shop I can put out there. And it's called Tailor Made Nutrition in Woodbury, Minnesota. TAILOR, Tailor Made Nutrition in Woodbury. I know the owners, they have incredible backgrounds themselves in both education and kind of their passion and purpose. They're a smaller shop. They're not like this big, massive chain store, and they really want to work with people on an individual level. And they actually see a lot of people with really significant chronic disease. And they have a naturopath and some other alternative healthcare practitioners that work out of their site. So they're a great source, and they do offer online ordering right now too. So
you can get them that way too. Perfect.
So one thing that I've also, just to piggyback off of that, is I know coming from quality assurance background is what you like, measuring what's there and what is truly there. So I've done some actually gut microbiome tests in the past. I don't represent them, just one thing that I've used, but a company called Viome, VIOME, and Naveen Jain is the CEO of that company and has done a lot of work inside of that. And you send in the necessary items, they come back and they give you a really cool app that says, what is the key, like your superfoods, what is the best things for you to eat, what should you totally avoid, and then what is the good bacteria and the bad bacteria that you have in your tummy, and kind of give a better explanation about what is there. And there's a few other ones that are out there that I've heard of. I think Gut Bio is something I just checked out, and Verisana, I think, is another one that has some pretty interesting stuff. But personally, I've only used Viome, and it's been very reliable, and it's a lot of folks take it. So
Awesome.
And I did want to mention one brief thing. If you do want to know a little bit more deep details about the gut-mind interaction, I can recommend a book. It's called Brain Maker by Dr. David Perlmutter, I think is how you say his last name. I write it in the chats. That's, you know, it, lots of details, lots of intricate you know, interactions, but it breaks it down, and it talks about very various things like autism, Alzheimer's, and how immunity, sleep, and how the gut microbiome is just that important for all these bodily functions. And you may be deficient in something, you may not, your body may not be doing so well right now, and sometimes having that one little thing can make a really huge difference, even in honestly digestion. So yeah, great resource to check out.
Your gut is really your second brain. I mean, it's your second, nervous system. So it's really, really incredibly important for as it relates to health. Interestingly enough, I've read multiple studies where kids who are raised on a farm have the healthiest gut microbiome. So it's really tricky during a pandemic because we all want to, like have these moments anyways. We're like, should I just bathe in hand sanitizer right now? I'll just speak from a nurse's perspective. So I've been in the hospital, and I've certainly been taking care of patients with some really significant infectious disease agents. And I come out and I wash and I wash and I wash and I hand sanitize and I hand sanitize. There's a time and a place for that. If you're around a lot of really nasty infectious agents, you should probably be, taking multiple steps to stay clean and sterile and sanitized. But now, to your point, Jen, it's a little concerning when our whole world is feeling like we want to live in a sterile bubble, because that doesn't really boost our immune system. It actually suppresses it in the long run. So it's that balance. I guess I would say right now in the pandemic world, if I went to the grocery store, I'd probably come home and wash my hands and use a little hand sanitizer, because there's a lot of people going in and out of there right now. But if I'm just in my house or with my family or my friend, close friends in my bubble, I'm not going to take out the hand sanitizer. I mean, just wash your hands like you normally would, and don't kill your immune system in the process of trying to stay safe in the pandemic.
Yeah, no, I think that makes total sense. And it's so hard, right? You can get stuck in, the habit again of doing all of those things, but forget that sometimes some of what we come in contact with, just like children, it's healthy for us to come in contact and not absolutely sterilize everything all the time. So this was great. And the gut health, the blue blocker glasses, we've got lots of things. Now, are you guys seeing, so one of the things is, fitness has been impacted because a lot of the health clubs, a lot of the places we went to do group classes together. I know Dr. Jack used to teach a lot of yoga and other things. A lot of people are motivated by doing those types of things in groups or with others. I heard something where it said you weren't doing the pandemic right if you hadn't bought an animal like a dog or a cat or something to take care of, gotten a Peloton bike, and then moved into a new home. So those were kind of the pandemic chic things to do lately, I've heard, with one of those being a Peloton for the fitness aspect. So I know Dr. Jack is providing some on-demand health that has to do with specific ailments. So where can people find resources where they say, you know what, I just need to strengthen this part, or I'm under stress and I'm feeling more pain in my shoulders because I'm hunching probably, or I'm not sitting appropriately at my desk? Any resources for where people can go to get those on-demand exercises they can do to correct some of the new ailments they may be getting from extended sitting, not doing the activity, those types of things, besides your traditional get outside, walk, do that. Are there some guided activities people can do somewhere?
Yeah, so that's what I'm really excited about for women, specifically with Woman Works coming out. We will have pelvic pain modules, we'll have pelvic strengthening, with also, I'm working with a physical therapist right now to develop some 12-week programs for people to just log in, play some videos, and follow right along. But the main thing is I would say my tip to individuals is, when you're logging in, find something that you find fun. So like Jen, you mentioned Peloton. Some people absolutely love cycling and are like, this is my jam. I know every day I can get up and make this a part of my routine because I'm looking forward to it. A lot of times I tell clients, designate a space in your house. So say you don't have a Peloton bike, but you have a yoga mat or you have some free weights. Designate that part of your space in your home for that activity. And of course, maybe it transitions, right? Maybe you roll out your mat in your bedroom when the kids are napping or what have you, and that's your designated space. Maybe it's a completely separate room that you can just make your own home gym, right? Whatever it is, I always tell clients, make it special, because that's something that I think a lot of people pre-pandemic, that was their, a part of their routine again. So they would drive to XYZ, Alter, one of my favorite gyms in Minneapolis. They'd drive to Alter, park their car, get up. It was 50 minutes of designated fitness time, and then they could go on their way. So it's almost like try to find ways that you can still have that type of feeling, right? And excitement and looking forward to it, essentially. So that's a big tip I try to give clients, is designate that space. And even like Jesse said, schedule it, designate the time too. And I think that helps a lot of individuals, currently make just these healthy habits into a lifestyle.
I love it. Well, you guys, this hour went so fast, and I know we didn't get a chance to get started on time because we were shifting platforms, but I appreciate you all being so patient for giving of so much of your advice and information and insights. There's a lot of information in the chat, so make sure everyone checks that out. And then quickly, if you could each just go through and say where the best place is if someone says, I didn't get to ask Dr. Jack, Jesse, Louisa, Krista a question, I want to connect with you. Tell us the best place to connect with each one of you. So we'll just start with Jesse and move on until we get to all of you. So anyone watching this post has the opportunity, because as Maria said, this will be recorded. People will be able to watch it later on.
Absolutely. Best place is Jesse at optimalwellnesscollective.com.
Perfect. JESSE for Jesse at optimalwellnesscollective.com. Louisa?
And then for me, it's Louisa, LUISA at optimalwellnesscollective.com.
Awesome. Dr. Jack?
My email is drjaclyn, DRJACLYN, at Stoke Wellness, STOKE wellness.com. And then also you can follow along on Instagram at Stoke Wellness, and Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page.
And Stoke is STOKE?
Yes, correct. STOKE.
And Krista?
Yes, you can email me at Krista, which is CHRISTA, at the point, POINT, retreats, which is plural.com. And we also have an Instagram page and a Facebook page. And if you send a message to any of those places, we'll definitely get back to you there also.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Maria, thank you for giving us the platform, for all these amazing folks to give us these tips, I think, that are so impactful to all of us. I know I have a whole list of things that I'm like, I got to do all these things. So check everything out. Definitely check out the companies for all of our panelists today. They're doing amazing work in this space to help all of us stay healthy and safe. So good luck, everyone. Thank you for attending today, and we hope to see all of you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.